Hey guys, how you doing? It's Dave again. Today we're talking about backwards recording on this machine right here. This is the Tascam 414 Mark II. But most of what we're talking about is going to be fairly applicable to almost any cassette 4-track. And this is in reference to a video that I put up a few years ago called Untitled Piano Music. This was something that I did, sort of an ambient piano piece that I wrote for a film that a friend was working on. Essentially, just to give you a little background, these machines record on your standard compact cassettes. Okay, this is just like, back in the day, if you went and bought, an album on cassette, it would come on one of these. And these normal cassettes in your normal cassette player would play in two directions, right? You play what's on this side of the tape, then you play what's on this side of the tape. Okay, so it's like playing the top half and the bottom half of the tape. Right? And on each side of the tape, you have left and right channels. So that's actually 4 separate strips of tape here, 4 separate tracks. Except you could only hear one side of the tape when you're playing it in this direction, and then when the tape is winding in the other direction, you hear the other side of the tape. Now, these machines took advantage of that by allowing you to record on all 4 of those channels separately in the same direction. On this machine, the way that the tracks are split up, they are in order on the tape. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you look at the tape, you're going to have track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4 in order next to each other. And this has to do with the actual record heads, the way they're laid out in the machine. Okay. I think on all the Tascam machines, they're laid out this way, but they don't have to be. They could call this track 1, this track 2, this track 3, this track 4. So I'm not sure if Tascam ever did that, but on this machine, they're all in order. So before you try this and record over something accidentally, go online, look up the manual for your machine, and find out how the tracks are laid out. Or you can just record something on each track and flip it around, and you'll figure it out pretty quickly. But anyway, that's just the word of caution. If you have a different model than me, look up the tape head layout first. Okay, so let's say, for example, you want to have like a rhythm guitar part that's normal, and then you want to have a backwards lead. So the way you would do that is you could record your rhythm guitar on track 1, play to the end of the song, and then stop the tape, flip it over. Okay, now when you do that, it's flipping where your tracks are. So if track 1 is over here, when you flip the tape over, it's going to be over here on track 4. So when you play the tape back again, you're going to see these meters lighting up on track 4 because now you flip the tape. Okay, so you have to kind of keep track of that. Your track 1 is going to be on 4. Your track 2 is going to be on 3. Track 3 is going to be on 2. Track 4 is going to be on 1. Okay, so if they're here, they're going to be flipped over like that. Okay, so when you play it back, you're going to have your rhythm track here, and you're going to record your lead on track 3. So you're going to be hearing, when you're listening to the playback, you're going to hear your rhythm guitar part backwards. So you play it from the end of your rhythm guitar performance until the beginning of it again, and then stop the tape, flip it over again, and now you're going to have your rhythm guitar part here on 1, and your backwards lead is going to be on 2. The tricky part with this is that you do have to hear your original performance backwards while you're doing the lead, okay, while you're doing whatever it is that you're overdubbing backwards. So you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out until you flip the tape back over again and listen to it. So so that's kind of the tricky thing. That's kind of the fun thing about it, is that it's kind of unpredictable. Some really obvious examples of this is like the Beatles, like the guitar solo on "I'm Only Sleeping." I think that might have been like the very first time it was ever done. Or Hendrix, "Are You Experienced?" I think there's some backwards guitars on there, and a few of the tracks on that album. But if you're into that kind of thing, which I am definitely into, you'll enjoy doing this. But it's also really cool to experiment with, cymbals sound really cool like this. You'll hear like a whoosh, kind of like a slurping kind of sound where it just cuts off. Acoustic guitars sound really interesting that way. Things that have an attack and a long decay, they start to sound like a swell and then they just disappear. It's a really cool thing to experiment with. The way I did mine was it was piano, so I did this really simply with just I think this is back at the time when I was doing everything with SM57s and 58s. So I just had a 57 hanging over the piano, recorded my track 1, and then I flipped it over and I had a backwards piano on track 2, I guess, probably. So anyway, if you're interested in hearing what it sounds like, just click the link in the description. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to leave me a comment. I will try to respond. So as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.